George Chahal was elected Ward 5 Councillor on October 16, 2017, and he's our guest today. I normally do a big fancy intro here, but I'm going to let George tell us what he's all about. Please welcome Councillor George Chahal. Hello, George.
Hi, Roop. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for making the time. I know you're really busy. Before we start, I'm going to show you something I found in my closet today.
Oh, wow. That's a nice looking shirt. Sports jersey.
Yeah, it is so warm. It's so snug, like for the days like when it's chilly, really chilly, when it's -40 outside, and my husband does not let me put on the heat. That's what comes out.
That's
So.
your go-to. Well, it's a good looking shirt. So I wear it all the time as well when I go to the gym. And lots of community members ask me if I can get them one. So you're one of the lucky few who has one from 2017. It's a limited edition. It's from 2017, and in 2021 you'll see a newer, updated version. That might be worth. That actually might be worth something someday in the future. So hold on to that.
Oh, really? Now, it doesn't say 2017 on it. You need to change that.
We know it's from 2017.
Yeah, you need to change color maybe for 2021.
Sure.
So
well, I'll get my daughter, who's a part of the design team, to work on a new 2021 design with some fresh colors.
So this shirt, I think you gave it to me when we did the interview last time. That was almost 4 years ago now, 2017. Time flies, incredible. So you've been living your dream. How has the political journey been so far?
Well, it's been pretty exciting. When you get elected initially, you learn a lot. I mean, there's so much to learn right from the get-go to which stairwell goes there, where are the washrooms. And so it was pretty exciting to be elected from Ward 5, the communities I've grown up in and spent living and working a majority of my life. And so it's very, very exciting to do that and then be elected as one of the first Punjabi members ever to be elected in our city council with me, myself, and Councillor Gondek. So that was a very special moment. The journey, lots to learn, a lot of huge projects we've been involved in. Right away was the Olympics. That conversation was a big conversation. We are in this recession in the province of Alberta and had significant challenges and impacts on our local economy. But once I got my feet under me, it was we've just been really good from there. I have a great staff who supported me all the way through, and I think that's been an important part of it. It's really teamwork, and we have great constituents. We have a very resilient community. People are just so great and so nice, and it's such an amazing opportunity to represent the most diverse ward in the city. Now, with all that, there are some challenges. I mean, I got 3 kids. I have an 8-year-old who was a 4-year-old back then, and 5 at that time, and I have a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old as well. So they've grown up over the last 3.5 years as me being a city councillor, and they've had to live me taking calls with my Bluetooth in the car, driving to soccer practice, reading my agendas while I'm at their soccer practice, and finding time to do all of that. And then also being, a big part of it is being a city councillor, working for our residents, and but being a father and a husband as well. My wife is working full time, and her job's quite demanding as well. So family is important for us and my household, and we've added a new addition, a dog. Last year as well. I had 2 dogs growing up, and so it's been a number of years, and I have a little one in the household running around as well that creates a ruckus. So we're a busy family.
You've answered all the questions I had for you, so I think we can conclude the interview here. You said that there have been some pain points along the way. Everything hasn't been a bed of roses. There has been a few events which we would call the black swan events, literally. COVID. We had the hailstorm in June 2020. So there has been a lot of things that you probably did not expect in 2017 that happened. So what have been the pain points along the way? Things that you feel now that you could have done better personally?
Well, it's been, I mean, I think you learn every day, and I have my colleagues are great. They've been a number of great mentors I have at City Council. And so they've really helped me along the way early on. There's a lot to learn. I mean, we're a big city. We have a big budget. We have a lot we do and to support our citizens. So there is a lot to learn. So it's always, I'm grateful that my colleagues have been so good when I call them and they pick up the phone and we have a conversation and say, oh, actually, this happened 8 years ago and I should fill you in before you do something on it. But, this has been a really challenging year. I was in India last year on a trade mission with Mayor Nenshi in Calgary Economic Development, and we've seen some good news from that recently. We met with a number of IT companies in Bangalore and other companies through Delhi and Mumbai. And when we were there, COVID was really just starting to take off, and it wasn't a big concern before we left. When we got back, we ended up doing, but 10 days later is when we the official start of the COVID pandemic here and the start of the lockdown. We've had the hailstorm in June. I mean, nobody expected that. As we got out of the lockdown and things were, case numbers are down, and in June 13th, we were hit with this massive hailstorm. I remember driving right through and seeing the snow piling up in Saddle Ridge and Taradale, and I remember at Meet Singh Boulder School, and I called it lakefront property because the dry pond was full of water over the garbage bins. And that's the first time in my life I've seen that dry pond be so full of water. And then being in the tunnel, driving through the tunnel and seeing water rising and, being there trying to direct traffic and on the phone with our chief Tom Sampson at the time saying, I think there's a problem here. Water's rising in the tunnel and there's nobody here except me. So those were some of the scary, some of the scary things I remember from that evening. And then right into recovery right away. Next morning, seeing our roads crews, our firefighters out there unplugging many of the drains that were plugged, and then getting right away with our emergency management agency and setting up, I think, the largest, other than the floods downtown, the largest cleanup, second probably largest or largest cleanup we've seen in Calgary. We had 30 garbage bins out a week later, which we collected 550,000 kgs of garbage out of our communities.
And the storm, it cost over $1 billion.
1.4, 1.5 we're even at now, and about 70,000 claims, 35,000 or so house claims, and about 35,000 vehicle claims. So it impacted every part of the ward. And my council was very supportive of the notice of motions I brought forward right away, asking the provincial government for a grant or incentives or tax credits to support residents to build back better, so they could upgrade their roofs, or rather than vinyl siding, maybe put on a better cladding. So we did a lot of that advocacy right away. And then we also did, we asked to review our building codes as well and look at what we could do better as a city in response to these disasters. So after that, what we did was in September, I also was able to bring forward a tax relief program for those residents who face challenges. It was a tough year with COVID, and then with the damage with the hailstorm. As a city, we have the one power with our taxation system. We were able to, any resident who wanted to defer was able to apply and defer their taxes for a year as well. One other initiative we took forward with all that was an insurance industry roundtable with all the challenges we were facing. We brought leaders of the insurance industry together to talk about some of the issues and concerns our residents were having, whether it be through navigating a legal document, which is your insurance policy, and a lot of people don't read their insurance policy through detail. And if you do, you have to understand a lot of that legalese, and so it can be challenging. So helping support them through that process through our hotline that we had set up. And one thing I want to talk about COVID, we had the highest COVID rates in per capita in the country, and I think the mayor said maybe even in the world. So that was another part of this pandemic that we had to deal with late in last year. And I think it was important to stand up, and I was out and talking about why some of this is happening. The whole part of the city is impacted by COVID, but why do we have higher rates? Why do certain parts of Brampton have higher rates? Because we're very similar demographics, working on the front lines, living in extended families in denser neighborhoods. All those challenges contribute to a higher transmission rate. And one thing we tried to do is to focus on supporting those individuals so they understand the importance of washing your hands, keeping that distance, and the importance of wearing a mask. Not just wearing a mask, but not wearing it down here, wearing it so it covers your nose, and doing that. So a lot of that information, and even right now, I think it's important. I tell everybody when it's your turn, get vaccinated, to open up our economy so we can see our friends and family. Grandparents can see grandkids, so we can get some sort of normal life back. We need to get vaccinated. We still may have to follow some of these public health guidelines with masking and maybe distancing, but at least we can get back to having those opportunities to meet our friends and family.
I actually read about that today, that City of Calgary is partnering up with AHS to open TELUS Convention Center, and which can
Yes,
vaccinate hundreds of people a day.
that's going to be huge. I mean, thousands of people a day when we're fully up and running. And then we advocated to get the Genesis Center. I mean, I've been talking to months with the mayor and advocating to ensure that we had something in Northeast Calgary where right now we had only 2 pharmacies in the initial rollout, that we had a mass vaccination center right in Northeast Calgary where our residents love going to the Genesis Center.
COVID has really fastened a lot of processes, actually. COVID, we're working from home because of COVID. Our technology of working from home has gotten better because of COVID. And because of COVID, there are a couple of legislations that you brought in, the motions that you brought into the Priorities and Finance Committee today. Can you talk about them?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working. I've brought forward so many notice motions over the last few years, and that does take a lot of work and work with our administration or team. One is on street play. Because of COVID, we see our kids inside, and we want our kids to get out as the weather is getting nicer and have opportunities. Well, I grew up playing street hockey on the street. It was normal. I didn't know you're not allowed to do that. Or a kid shooting basketball hoops in front of their house, on the road. Well, in our traffic safety bylaw, you actually can't do that. So if a neighbor calls, the bylaw on you, you could get a ticket. You could have to remove that basketball net. So what we're trying to do is modernize our Traffic Safety Act to look at what opportunities are available to get this youth to be able to play in their neighborhoods and on their streets where it's safe, and where neighbors know we want that to happen. I think that's important part of my growing up, and I know it's important for a part of a lot of the youth I talk to. The other one is on stormwater, storm pond safety. We've had a lot of concerns on this specific issue. Unfortunately, a few years back, we had a child die in a storm pond. It was a heartbreaking story, and I almost drowned as a child as well. So it really affected me when I heard that happen. We've seen, I've had people say that we go with life jackets into the storm pond, not knowing that a storm pond ain't a lake, or it's not clean water. I mean, this is water we collect that goes into our storm system. We just saw recently some seniors in our community save some young girls off a storm pond when the ice was breaking, and they took their turbans off and they used that to save those girls. So I've been working with my administration for some time, and I just said, you know what? They've been making slow improvements, looking. We need to give clear direction that we need to review all our storm ponds. And we have a phased approach, looking at close to schools, close to neighborhoods where we have a lot of people around parks that are getting too close to them, and looking at where are some of the safety issues we're having. Why are people accessing them? Do we have the right signage? Do we have the right signage in different languages? So this is something I'm bringing forward, brought forward, and that will be coming forward to our next council meeting for final approval. Our priorities and finance committee is kind of the initial checklist to make sure you've done all your due diligence, to see what the funding ask is, if there's one, and to make sure we vet it before we move it forward. So I'm quite excited on both these initiatives that we move it forward for the health and wellness of kids in our community, and also for the safety, the public safety of our residents.
Yeah, being a mom myself, I completely am on board with both of those. You also brought forward another motion that concerns the taxi industry yesterday. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's been a challenging year with the pandemic and the airlines, the airport being shut down for the members of the taxi industry. I mean, it's been a number of years with the economy and then TNCs coming in and a lot of supply in the market. But with with the airport essentially being shut down, or very, very, the amount of passenger traffic is so low, and folks working from home and not taking taxis as much. Last year, I had brought forward a reduction on driver fees, 100%. $141 we were able to eliminate, and 50% last year. And we are the only municipality that I'm aware of that did that last year. Well, this year, we did it again. And so I was able to bring the motion where we were able to eliminate the driver's fees again for this year and reduce it's a guaranteed reduction of 50% of the plate owner's fees, but I asked for 100%. So they're going to go back and find the money and hopefully get us there. So I think that's really good news. They're small, business owners, operators in our community, and they work extremely hard to support their families. It's a tough job to drive people all day long sitting in a car, and it's hard work. It's challenging. They're also impacted by the hailstorm. A lot of those cars got damaged. They have to repair their cars. They also have seen insurance rates go up. So there's a lot of challenges that industry is facing, and we're trying to I'm trying to do the best we can as a city to help them with whatever we can do financially to support them. So giving them a breather that they can pay less, a few $100, and save some more money on the plate fees, I think is really good for the livery industry and our taxi drivers.
Great to hear. Another topic that keeps cropping up is safety in Ward 5. What have you done for it?
So since I've been elected, one of the biggest, you've probably seen me in the media quite a bit talking about gun and gang violence and asking for better support from the police service to deal with these issues. From that, I brought forward a notice of motion, and I'm the chair of the community-based public safety task force. We spent the last year engaging with residents, many organizations, community organizations, ethnocultural communities on the issues when it comes to urban violence. And I'm happy. It's been a tough year because of COVID. We couldn't meet in person and do a lot of that engagement, but we found ways to do it with technology, and where we were able to meet individuals to hear their stories, and a lot of heartbreaking stories. If we had more time, I could share some with you, and some are in our report coming forward. So we've concluded the work of our task force and bringing forward further recommendations to improve public safety in our community, looking at a number of crime prevention initiatives to support many of these communities that are disproportionately affected. So I'm happy to see, and we've been working closely with Minister Bill Blair, who's our public safety and emergency preparedness minister. I've been on a number of calls with the minister. He's been very supportive of the work we're doing and the way we're doing it. So when I brought this forward, it wasn't just about a bunch of government officials sitting around a table trying to find solutions for the community. It was about, I call the vertical, having the three orders of government involved, and then the horizontal, the grassroots, members from our community, from education, from our Indigenous community, from our Black community, from nonprofit organizations. So we have a very broad, and law enforcement as well. So we have a very broad group of individuals who have supported this work and we're coming to a conclusion of the task force. I think there's a lot of great recommendations in there that we need to act on, and some require funding. And I think there's been we'll see some funding come from the federal government and some of the initiatives that they've recently announced on providing further opportunities for community-based crime prevention initiatives, and that's what we're doing. So I'm very excited with the work we've done. I'm very excited that this has been a very collaborative process between community and government to find good solutions that's going to make our communities safer. So that's the end goal, and I think we're on the path to getting there.
And you also mentioned equity for women in your Twitter post on International Women's Day. What are your thoughts on how can we improve equity for women in our communities?
So this is an important issue for me. I mean, a lot of people know I'm a dad. I got 3 girls at home. And when I look at my girls, it's not just my girls, it's all the females out there. But I look at them every day, and I know for them, the opportunities that lie ahead, there's many. But we've had some issues over the years of equity when it comes to gender equity between males and females in the workforce. I think we have what we've started in our in the community is we started a youth forum, which we want to engage young female leaders to get involved in. I see amazing, great leaders at the City of Calgary. I'm hoping more will come in senior management positions, so we get more and more. And I think the city's come a long way, but we need to do a lot better. We haven't done good enough. And I deal with a lot of amazing women in the workforce all the time who are superstars. And so we need more in senior leadership positions, more on our boards and commissions. I think from whether it be the public sector and the private sector, I think they're starting to move that direction, but we have to do definitely a lot more. Yeah. And I have 3 amazing colleagues at City Council that are trailblazers. Councillor Collier-Urquhart, who's a nurse and who's a Councillor Farrell as well, and then Councillor Gondek, who is running for mayor. We've never had a female mayor in the City of Calgary. So I think, it's they've all are great great leaders in our community, and it's great to see that we have a Councillor Gondek who's willing to step forward and run for mayor, and I hope she's running. I wish her the best, and I think you might see some more female leaders also step up and run, and I think that's really good. It's good for the young females in our community to see that she can do it, I can do it too. I can aspire to be that, also run for mayor, or run to be work hard and become a CEO of a company and on my merits and hard work. So I think that's, I'm quite encouraged to see that, and I'm a strong advocate for that change to happen.
You mentioned a forum. So if a young woman wants to be a part of that forum, how can she be a part of that forum?
So a Young Leaders Forum is what we want more females to be involved in that. We've had our first initial kind of kickoff meeting. I encourage anybody to email our office at, you can go to georgechahal.ca, go through my website, and you'll get somebody from my office to contact you back and let you know how to get involved. You can also direct message me on my social media at Chahal George, or email our ward office, even ward05@calgary.ca.
I'll put that information down here. So is there an age limit for being a part of that forum?
Yeah, so that Young Leaders Forum is, it's probably 16 and up, kind of into, I would say late 20s. We really want that. And depending on, we may split it up into 2 groups, but, we just want, our young adults to get involved with the future of the city. That's for males and females, but I'd love to have more females involved and work on and bring their ideas forward and how we can support them to kind of realize some of the passions they have when it comes to policy development and issues.
Last question. I remember the last time that we talked, one major component of your 2017 campaign was advocating for sports facilities in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
How is that coming along?
So public infrastructure and recreation, both very important advocacy pieces that I had run on previously. And on the sports end of it, I mean, I think about there's sports and recreation. So we have active recreation, passive recreation, sports we can play on teams or individually. So, there's a number of parts there. And I think what I seen was we had definitely a lack of that in our ward. So, advancing a number of causes. Recently, after I was elected, we opened up Man Meet Sink Boulder Park that provides great opportunities for cycling and passive recreation opportunities and getting together. So that was very exciting because he was a close friend of mine. I knew him from growing up. And that was a great honor to name that park after him. We brought forward a skate park at the Genesis Center. So that was an opening that we did, and took some time to figure that out in the right location, and did it make sense? And it's quite exciting to see that opportunity in Northeast Calgary. One issue that I really, also being a dad and a soccer coach, coaching for a number of years in our communities, was the lack of good fields. A lot of the fields were just low quality fields. So one initiative I brought forward was a notice of motion on getting a turf field in Northeast Calgary. Happens to be that this is going to be the first turf field in Northeast Calgary east of the Deerfoot. And I always ask, and how many turf fields or it's a class A and B, it's called high quality grass or turf. No, so we had 0. So I started right away on that. I got the funding for the first one, supported by our MLA, the former minister, Irfan Saber, at that time. And we were able to put that together from, working together and with the Genesis Center. And so that was, I think it's a huge win for us in our ward in Northeast Calgary to have that facility. I have more good news coming on that in the upcoming weeks. I can't tell you everything today, but that was approved. The funding was approved. We've gone through the design process and community engagement and really done it. I've gone through that whole process, and we'll have some good news to share on that in the upcoming weeks. I've also been able to work with developers in our community to make sure we do have better amenities in places where we don't. So in our northern communities, in the Skyview, Redstone, Cornerstone, Cityscape, I have a number of new exciting projects that we've worked on, that we've got land use approvals in place for, and now we're just moving to the next stage. So I'll be making some of those announcements here in the upcoming weeks as well, so the public knows where the locations are. With doing all that, it started a sports advisory, Northeast Advisory Council, and brought a number of sporting organizations together. And why I did that was that my focus was to get some of this work done when it comes to athletic fields, but we also want to build a new rec center in Northeast Calgary. And that's going to happen in the Skyview Ranch area. And I want to get these organizations involved early. So as we get funding to get...
I was going to ask you that. Are you getting the local or organization involved? How's the consultation process there?
Yeah. So on that project, because it's still, we had to get the land, and we got to start the planning phase. I wanted to get these sport organizations engaged, because I saw when I did the Genesis turf field and that work, that I was chasing, running in different locations, trying to get people together. I wanted to bring people together, united with a common goal. You might play field hockey or you might play football. You have the same goal. You want a facility to be able to do it at. So we'll worry about the spacing and programming afterwards, and we'll make sure we do that engagement. But the first step is to get us together. So we were able to do that. We had tremendous support with the Genesis Center field expansion project and related amenities. But as we move forward some of these other projects, we want to make sure that we have those voices at the tables, that we're meeting the community's needs in Northeast Calgary. Cricket pitches. People play cricket everywhere. We don't have, we have one in the Inland Park, a larger field with some batting cages up there, but we need to have a better cricket facility, just not in where we've had an old baseball diamond so members of our community can play cricket. We just recently had an announcement in Prairie Winds Park with an expansion there of cricket and some batting cages that are going to be brought forward. So that was some really good news as well. So those are some of the projects we're working on when it comes to sports and recreation. But over the next a month or so, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks, you will see on my social media, us bringing forward and letting community members know what's happening with the existing projects we had started and we're still working on, and then what are the new ones coming.
That's exciting because I've been hearing about sports facilities for, I think, almost a decade now. And like you mentioned, field hockey teams, they've been asking for a facility. Soccer teams, they've been asking for a facility. Cricket teams, now cricket is growing in Northeast from what I've seen in the Northeast, and people are going to Riley Park to play cricket. Yeah, it needs to happen in the Northeast.
Riley Park was dedicated as a cricket pitch when it was originally made. And it's a historic site for cricket in our city. But where do people live who play cricket? A lot of them live in our northeast, north central communities, and I think there's a great opportunity to do.
I completely align with you on that. We need to come together, whether it's Bangladeshi soccer teams, whether it's Pakistani cricket teams, Indian hockey teams. Everyone needs to come together and work together for a sports facility or whatever that it is, a project that you can probably build around sports for the betterment of our children.
And that directly relates to crime prevention. If
It
our
does.
kids have a place to go, and whether it's in our neighborhood at a park or a playground and a place they feel safe, or a rec facility where they can spend more of their time, that's what we need to do. Even, I'll say our schools, we need to open those doors for schools after school so kids can stay and play sports there. So mom and dad don't have to drive them around the city to take them to soccer games. And, so if a kid wants to stay after school and play soccer or basketball, or even get homework help, why not do it right at the school where they have a gym? I think that's some thinking we have to do as a, when it comes as a community, and our provincial government and how we think about education and community safety and crime prevention. I think there's a great opportunity to do it at our schools as well.
Well, all great ideas. Thank you so much for making the time today, and we'll talk soon because elections are coming up too in October.
Yeah, that's still a long ways away. My focus is COVID, getting through this stage, and a lot of work we're doing in the next few weeks. You're going to see a lot coming from our office and what we're doing to get the message out, and then into recovery about jobs, getting people back to work. We've had some great news stories. A part of it, the emphasis 500 jobs. That's some work that's been going on for a number of years. But me and the mayor were in India to help move some of those conversations along, and I really believe with some of that work that's been done, we'll see more Indian companies investing here in technology in the future. I think there's a lot of other announcements on the horizon in Northeast Calgary from a jobs perspective as well, that I think is we'll see kind of getting out of COVID and post-COVID, which is really good for jobs and economic development in our community. So a lot of work still to do. I got my sleeves rolled up. I'm always working and ready to roll up the sleeves and get to work and help build a better community for all.
Good luck to you. Best wishes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I always say thank you so much and Ekta Vichi Balha for all our Indian listeners.